Even starting a Windows 10 PC can cause some surprises. In this video we'll take a look at what happens when you first power on a factory fresh Windows 10 machine, or a machine that's been fully reset using the Windows Reset tool. Don't worry if you've already gone over these steps. There is nothing here that you can do wrong or can't change later. So the very first thing to do on your Windows 10 PC is choose your language settings. I'm in the UK, so I'll make sure everything is set up for the UK. To change any values, click or tap on the boxes here. And then use the scroll control here, or your finger, to navigate. Then click or tap on Next. You will then need to accept the terms and conditions of your Windows 10 license agreement. Click on Accept. Windows will now offer the choice of Express Settings or Customize Settings. For simplicity, new users should choose Use Express Settings. All of the settings can be changed later once you're more comfortable working with your PC. If you want to know exactly what Express Settings will configure, click on the Learn More link here. OK, so we'll go with Express Settings and click on Use Express Settings. If you're using Windows 10 Professional or Enterprise, you will be asked, who owns this PC? If the PC is owned by your employer, you should check with them before setting it up. Otherwise, click on I own it and then click Next. Windows 10 now presents you with an important choice. You can sign into your PC using a Microsoft account, or you can use a regular Windows login. Microsoft are very keen for you to use a Microsoft account, but you don't have to, and you can set one up later too if you prefer. What is the difference between each type of account, and why was this change introduced? When you use a Microsoft account, settings will be synchronized between all the PCs you own, and you will be automatically signed into the App Store and other online enabled apps. This can be very convenient, of course. You might already have a Microsoft account and not even be aware of it. If you use Hotmail or Outlook.com, your login for these services is your Microsoft account. The same login is used for OneDrive, Xbox Live, and games for Windows Live too. If you don't have a Microsoft account, you can sign up for one by clicking here. Why might you want to use a regular Windows account instead? Well, you may consider that linking all of your Microsoft services like this is a security risk. Malware designed to steal Windows logon credentials has appeared in the past, and now that Windows credentials can be linked to online accounts too, they become even more valuable. The other reason you might not want to log in with a Microsoft account is if you use a password manager. Since you can only access your password manager when you log in, you might not be able to remember your Microsoft password at logon time. However, Microsoft have added the option to use a PIN to log into your PC when using your Microsoft account. The PIN only works on the PC you set it up on, and you will still need your full Microsoft account password everywhere else, and of course the first time you sign in. You can only use numbers, not letters, for this PIN. The choice of which type of account to use is entirely up to you. You can add new accounts of both types later, and even switch an old style account to a Microsoft account. Even logging in without a Microsoft account, you can still access features like the Windows Store. You will simply be prompted to enter your Microsoft account credentials when you access the store. Note that a small number of features, such as the digital assistant Cortana, will not work unless you log in with a Windows account. To sign in with a Microsoft account now, enter your email address in the top box here, and password in the bottom box here, then click Sign In. If this is the first account you're setting up, we recommend going with a local account. So click on Skip this step, and you can now create a local account. Enter a username, type a password here, retype it here to confirm it, and then type a password hint here. Don't make your password hint too obvious, as anyone who has access to this PC will be able to see it. When you're done, click on Next. Windows will now set up your account. This will take just a few minutes. When the account setup is complete, you'll see the Windows desktop like this. You've now set up your new Windows PC, and you can move directly to the next tutorial. Welcome back to Windows 10. In this video we're going to log on or sign into our Windows 10 PC and have a look at the basic elements of the desktop. So first of all we need to sign into our PC. This is done just like in Windows 8, but slightly differently to other versions of Windows. Click anywhere on this screen, or on a touch screen, slide your finger on the screen in an upwards motion. You can now enter your password and click or tap here to sign in. What happens now depends on what kind of PC you are running. If Windows 10 doesn't detect a touchscreen, you'll be taken directly to the desktop. The desktop is where most users who have keyboard and mouse equipped systems will spend most of their time. If you do have a touchscreen, Windows should switch to tablet PC mode, which changes the start menu into full screen mode and makes some other changes. If your PC doesn't switch automatically, you can switch at any time by swiping your finger in from the right of the screen, or by clicking the icon here, and then clicking or tapping on tablet mode. Since we're looking at Windows 10 on a traditional keyboard and mouse PC in this video, we will continue by taking a look at the basic elements on the Windows 10 desktop. So we'll make sure that tablet mode is off for now. And to close the Action Center, just click or tap on the desktop. So this is the standard Windows 10 desktop you will see on a clean installation of the operating system. Let's go over the basic elements so you can start using your computer right away. The big empty area here is the desktop itself. This picture you see in the background is called the desktop background or desktop wallpaper. Since this is a pre-release version of Windows 10, this wallpaper may look different on your machine, but that's perfectly normal and it doesn't affect this tutorial. Let's go over the basic elements now so you can start using your computer right away. In Windows 10, both the Start button and the Start menu make a welcome return. To access the Start menu from the desktop, you can either press the Windows key on your keyboard, the Windows button on your device, or simply click on the Start button here. And the Start menu will open. To close it again, click anywhere else on the desktop. The area at the bottom here is called the taskbar. To the right of the Start button is this new area that's labelled Search the Web and Windows, and that's exactly what you can do from here. We'll come back and look at that in a later lesson. To the right of this box is the Task View icon. You can click this icon to quickly see all your running programs. This icon also gives you access to the new Virtual Desktops feature, but more on that in a later video. Further right still, we can see an area with some icons. On Windows XP and Windows Vista, the taskbar is where you can see programs that are already running. You might be wondering why there appear to be programs already running down here. Well, these programs are not actually running at all. Unlike Windows Vista or earlier versions of Windows, programs can be pinned on the taskbar and they will stay there for easy access even when they are not running. By default we get Microsoft's new Edge web browser, File Explorer and the Windows Store. It's important to understand that the icons here do not necessarily represent programs that are running. If I click on the Edge icon here, it will start to run the browser. And you can see that the icon now has this little line at the bottom of it to indicate that it's running. Also, when I hover my mouse pointer over the taskbar icon, I get a little preview window of the app appear here. Obviously that doesn't happen for the programs that aren't running. Okay, I'll just close Edge for now by clicking this X icon in the top right here. So coming along to the remaining elements, firstly we have the notification area here, or system tray as lots of people like to call it. This works in a similar way to Windows 7 and 8. To see your notification icons, you click this arrow. Next there's the network icon. Click this icon to see your network status and to connect to a Wi-Fi access point if available. The volume icon here allows you to quickly adjust the volume on your PC. Click on it and this slider will appear, allowing you to adjust the volume. This icon here is for the Action Center, where you can access some commonly used functions and review notification messages. This icon here brings up the on-screen keyboard. Not terribly useful on a laptop or desktop PC, but indispensable if you find yourself working on the desktop on a touch-only machine. Then there's a handy clock and date display, just like in previous versions of Windows. Finally, just like in Windows 7 and 8, there is this Show Desktop button hidden inconspicuously at the bottom right. To show you this, I need to open a window again, so I'll just open File Explorer, and then if I click on this button, you can see the window is instantly hidden. And I can click it again to bring the window back. By default on Windows 10 we only get one icon on the desktop, and that's the recycle bin. This is where files and folders you delete will initially end up. And that concludes this little introductory tour to the Windows 10 desktop. Back by popular demand, the Start menu in Windows 10 replaces the Start screen as seen in Windows 8, at least for desktop users. Let's open the new Start menu now and see what we can do. To open it, just click down here. Okay, so this is the new Start menu. It's a hybrid of the old Windows 7 menu and the Windows 8 Start screen. It's not to everyone's taste, though it's just as capable as the old Start menu once you get used to it. On the left here, we have our most frequently used programs. Programs like this, that have an arrow here, have what's called a jump list. Clicking on the arrow lets you jump to some commonly performed tasks in this app. Typically, this list usually contains a list of recently opened files. Below this is the recently added section. This section will show your newest apps. And below that, there are some shortcuts to common tasks, such as File Explorer, Computer Settings, and Power. At the very bottom is the All Apps button that we'll cover later in the lesson. Over on the right here, we have several tiles. Each tile here represents a program or app. On a new Windows 10 system, these will be the default apps, but you can pin any kind of app to this area. If you have too many apps to show here, Windows will display a scroll bar that you can use to browse through them. I'll just move this store tile down, which I do by clicking once with my left mouse button, holding it down, and then simply dragging the tile to where I want it, then let go. Now see how this scroll bar has appeared, letting me browse down the Start menu. Okay, I'll just pop that back for now. You may have noticed the News tile here is showing a picture and a headline. These headlines will periodically change. Each tile on the Start menu that belongs to a modern app can show information like this. As you work with Windows 10, the Start menu will start to come alive with information. If the news app on your system isn't showing any headlines yet, try launching it. To launch a program or app from the Start menu, just click it once. With Windows 10, Microsoft have tried to make working between touch devices and traditional PCs as seamless as possible. If you used Windows 8, you might be used to tiles behaving differently to regular desktop programs, taking up the whole of the monitor and behaving differently to regular windows. Now, that's not so much the case, as you can see here. This modern app has the regular close, minimize and maximize controls, and it doesn't take up the whole monitor. The behaviour is much more like a traditional Windows app. Let's close the News app for now by clicking the cross. We'll be covering working with Windows in another lesson. Let's go back to the Start menu a moment, and if the app you want to use isn't listed anywhere on the Start menu here, then you can find it under All Apps here. By clicking All Apps, you get an alphabetically sorted list of every single app that's available on your PC. Of course, you can search for apps too, using the Search Web and Windows box, and we'll cover that in some detail in the next lesson. Okay, I'll just click back from there now. Finally, you can lock, sign out, and power down your PC from the Start menu too. To lock or sign out of your PC, click on the icon here, that should be named the same as your user account, and then choose Lock or Sign Out. If you share your PC with other users in the house, you can lock or sign out when you're done working, and this allows another user to sign in with his or her account. By clicking on the power button here, you can sleep, shut down or restart the PC. Shut down and restart are fairly self-explanatory. You may occasionally need to restart your PC after an update, or if you experience a serious computer glitch. The sleep option puts the computer into a low power standby state. Unlike humans, who often require coffee, computers that are put to sleep can resume working almost instantly when woken again, much faster than if you shut them down completely. However, in sleep mode the PC still consumes a tiny amount of power. So, particularly if you have a mobile device and you're not going to use it for some time, power it down completely to preserve your battery. And that concludes our tour of the new Start menu. Learning how to search your Windows 10 PC is an important skill. After all, few of us will be able to remember where everything is on our Start menu. If you've used Windows before, you'll be used to searching from the Start menu or Start screen. In Windows 10, we get this search bar down here near the Start button. And as you might expect, this can be used for searching your PC. Microsoft's digital assistant Cortana can also be summoned from here, but we'll be covering her in a later lesson. So what I'm going to do is click here, then click on the settings icon here, and make sure Cortana is turned off. Okay, so now all we need to do to search the computer is click here, then type in what we are searching for. So Windows has put the app at the top of the search results here. Then below we get results from the Windows Store, and then below that we can click on any of these to do an instant search on the web. As you can see, searching Windows 10 is actually pretty powerful. You can search for picture and media files too. I've placed a couple of example media files on my PC. So now, for instance, if I search for butterfly, the example butterfly picture appears in my search results. To open the picture file, I simply click here. If I wanted to open the folder where the picture was stored, just open the search again, then all I'd need to do in that case was right click and choose Open File Location. And that brings up a File Explorer window where you can see the file. So let's go back to the search again, and this time I'm going to search for people. Well, we've got a result for the app, but not for the picture. So let's do a more detailed search. Click on My Stuff. Microsoft have made some fantastic improvements to searching your own files in Windows 10. By opening this Search My Stuff window, you can search through different categories and quickly see results. So if we only wanted pictures, we could click here and choose Photos. And there's our photo. If we were looking for an app, of course, we could click and choose Apps. Then we only get the People app. And there are several other categories you can search through too. You can also group your search results by most relevant or most recent. As you can imagine, this gets very powerful when you have a lot of files or apps on your PC and you're trying to drill down to a specific one. If you can't see all the search results on one screen, simply use the scroll bar here to move down them. And that covers the basics of searching your new Windows 10 PC. Let's take a look at some basic window functions in Windows 10. Some of these techniques will be familiar to those of you who have used Windows before, while some of the techniques are new. OK, so here is a File Explorer window. Don't worry too much about the contents of this window yet. We'll come to those later. The common window controls, which are the same in virtually every Windows application you run, are Minimize and Close. Obviously, clicking Close here would exit the application. Clicking Minimize shrinks the application down to the taskbar. Just like Windows 7 and 8, but unlike Windows Vista or earlier versions of Windows, items on the taskbar are represented by icons. To use the window again, you just click on the program's icon. Notice as well that any program that is running has this little bar underneath it, on the taskbar here. While programs that are simply pinned and not running, like the store here, do not have this bar. The middle button on a window here changes depending on what state the window is in. When a window is taking up only part of the screen, this button is called Maximize. Click it now, and the window is expanded to its maximum size, taking up all of the available screen space. The button is then replaced by one called Restore. Let's click that now and see what happens. The window becomes slightly smaller. Why would you want to do this? Well, now you can resize and move the window easily. To move the window, simply click with your left mouse button on the title bar here. Keep the mouse button held down, then just move the window wherever you want it. To resize a window, you move your mouse pointer to the edge of the window and watch how it changes into these little arrows like this. Now click your left mouse button and hold it down and drag with the mouse and let go when the window is the size you want it. You can resize from any side and from the corners too. When you resize from the corner, you can adjust the width and height at the same time. Let's look at some of the ways we can interact with windows. Down on the taskbar, things work in exactly the same way as they did in Windows 7 and 8. Let's open another File Explorer window. You can do this by going to File, Open New Window, Open New Window. You can now see that the icon on the taskbar for File Explorer has become stacked. Two icons on top of each other. Hover your mouse over this icon and you'll see preview windows like these. In Windows 10 you can also hover your mouse over the preview icon to see a full-size preview of the window. This will temporarily turn all the other windows on your desktop transparent, so you can focus on the window you are previewing. This is called peeking at the window. To switch to a window, simply click on the preview icon. Finally, if you're used to working with multiple windows, you'll know that windows can often become cluttered on your desktop. Windows 10 gives you a few neat tools to help with this. Most useful in my opinion is Snap, which has been improved in Windows 10. If I take this File Explorer window and move it off to the edge of the screen, just keep going, there, notice this transparent frame has appeared. If I let go of my mouse button now, the window will snap to half of the screen width. Wait, what's this? Snap has changed a little in Windows 10. When you snap a window now, Windows will instantly pop up this list of all your open applications. If you want to snap one to the opposite side, click on it now, and there we go. Of course, you don't have to choose another window. If I close this Explorer window and then just re-snap this one, like that, then just click anywhere away from this preview window or press the escape key on my keyboard and the preview window closes and we've just got the one window snapped. Snap is useful when working with File Explorer. Say I was working on two locations on my computer. Let me open that other File Explorer window again. So File, Open New Window, Open New Window. I can now take the new File Explorer window, move it off the other edge of the screen and let go to snap it like that. And there we have it, two perfectly arranged windows. I can now easily drag and drop files between these two locations. We'll see how to make more use of this in another video. There's one other significant change to Snap in Windows 10 too. This is called Corner Snap. Imagine you wanted to work with not one, not two, but 3 or 4 windows at once. Well, now you can with Corner Snap. Let's take one of these Windows Explorer windows again, move it, and then we'll snap it again, but this time by moving off the top right of the screen. Okay, notice the frame has appeared again, but this time only in a quarter of the screen. So let go of my mouse button, and there we go. The window is snapped to a quarter of my monitor space. And I can open up my web browser in this space if I want to. And now I've got the 3 windows open at once and all appropriately sized on my monitor. There's also the feature called Shake. If I have a lot of windows open and they're all piled on top of one another messily, I can grab the window I want to work with from the chaos and, keeping my mouse button held down, just shake quite vigorously, like that. See, all the other windows are now minimised and I'm just left with the one window I want to work with. That concludes our tour of the basic window functions on the Windows 10 desktop. Try out some of the techniques yourself. We're sure they will help you become more productive. In this video, we're going to look at a new feature on the Windows 10 desktop called Virtual Desktops. Now, this is a completely optional feature, and if you simply find this all too confusing, then don't worry. There's no need to use this feature if you don't want to. Some people find virtual desktops a real boon to their productivity, but not everyone is convinced. So, the theory goes, you have 2 projects you're working on. Maybe one is on the web, in your web browser, while the other is a manuscript you're working on in your word processor. You want to keep all those browser windows from distracting you when you finally get down to work on your manuscript, but you have to change back at a moment's notice when your boss tells you to work on the company website. In this instance, we could create a new virtual desktop for our word processor. To do that, click on the Task View button here, and if you have a touchscreen device, you can also access the task view by swiping your finger in from the left of the screen. Now with the task view open, click on New Desktop. OK, so we've created another desktop. Click on here to switch to it. Notice now the Microsoft Edge web browser icon has disappeared. The program doesn't even appear to be running. Its icon is still pinned, but there's no bar underneath it to indicate that it's running. The web browser is in fact still running, we just can't see it because it's not on this desktop. On this desktop now, I could open WordPad, for instance. And I could start using WordPad like this. When I need to switch back to my other desktop, I need to click the Task View button again, and then click on Desktop 1 here. Now notice as you hover the mouse pointer over the Desktop 1 thumbnail, Windows shows you a preview of the windows and applications open on this desktop. So let's click on that now, and as you can see, there's my web browser on the exact same page I left it on. It's possible to move programs that are already running between your virtual desktops too. To do that, click on the Task View button again and go to the desktop where the program is running, but don't actually click on it. Now find the large thumbnail that represents the program's window, right click on it and choose Move to, and then select the desired virtual desktop. Or you can create a whole new one if you want to. So I'll move this to Desktop 1, and back on Desktop 1 I can now see that both WordPad and my web browser are running on this desktop. To close the desktop when you are done working with it, click on the Task View button again, then just click on the cross icon here. Any programs that were running on that desktop will not be closed. Instead, they will be moved to another desktop. And that pretty much covers virtual desktops. For busy multitaskers, this can be a great little feature. So give it a go yourself and see if it fits in with your workflow. In this video, we're going to look at tablet PC mode and discuss the ways Windows 10 works slightly differently when in this touch-friendly operating mode. So, as we discussed in an earlier lesson, you can toggle tablet mode on and off by swiping your finger in from the right-hand side of the screen here, and then tapping on tablet mode. Unlike Windows 8, once in tablet PC mode, the desktop all but goes away in Windows 10. Notice that all the desktop icons I had on this machine have disappeared. You can still launch desktop Windows apps, however, as we'll see in a moment. As you can see, the Start menu turns into a Start screen, similar to Windows 8. However, rather than moving horizontally, you scroll vertically to browse through your tiles. If you tap this icon here, you can see the most used and recently added programs that normally appear on the left of the standard Start menu. You can also access power options from here, and all apps from here, though all apps no longer appears in a full screen like on Windows 8. For more information on these options, see our video on the Start menu. To close the sidebar, just tap on an empty space. To open any app from the Start screen, just tap on its tile once. I'll open Weather. Notice the app opens in a full screen rather than a window, but otherwise works exactly the same as it does when running in desktop mode. To navigate back to the Start screen, you just press the Start button on the taskbar here. or press the Windows button on your device. Usually this is located just above or below the screen. Speaking of the taskbar, there are a number of key differences in tablet PC mode. First of all, if I open Weather again, notice the program's icon does not appear on the taskbar at all. Since the taskbar is convenient for switching between apps, you may want to change this behaviour, and we'll show you how in a moment. In tablet mode, you also get this back button icon here. That takes you back to the previous page in the app, or the previous app, or the start screen. So for instance, if I was in Weather and I went to Maps, I could press the back button now to get back to the weather forecast. And we'll look more closely at switching between apps in a later lesson. In tablet mode, desktop apps will always open maximised, that is, their biggest possible size. Though of course they may still be rather fiddly to use without a keyboard and mouse. If I go back to the start screen and I tap on File Explorer here, you can see the app takes up the whole screen, only leaving space for the taskbar at the bottom. If I try to restore the app down, nothing happens. Resizing app windows works differently in tablet mode, and we'll see how to do it in a later lesson. Finally, notice the search bar has disappeared. Well, fortunately that's only a minor difference. To open the search, simply tap on the magnifying glass icon here. Now you can search your device by tapping here and typing in your search query. See our lesson on basic searching to learn more about these techniques. Let's search for hide app icons and tap on the result here. This takes us to a setting where we can re-enable app icons in tablet mode. Of course, this is entirely up to you. Simply turn this setting off to restore app icons just like in desktop mode. And that concludes our introduction to tablet mode. Windows 10 tablets are super powerful, easily more powerful than competing Android or Apple devices, and are therefore ideal for anyone who demands more flexibility from their device. In this lesson, we'll learn how to work with multiple apps when in tablet PC mode. We'll look at ways you can switch between apps and how to use multiple apps at once. Okay, so here I am back on the start screen on my Windows 10 tablet. Let's launch a few apps. We'll launch Weather, then News, then Music, and then Microsoft Edge. We've seen how to switch between apps by going back to the start screen, but there's another way too. Swipe your finger in from the left of the screen. You're now taken to this view of all your open apps. To switch to one, just tap on it. You'll then instantly switch to your app and can start using it. This is a faster way than going back to the start screen. Let's switch to music, for example. So I'm swiping in from the left and then tap on Music. You can also use the back button here to jump to the previously used app. You can also close apps from the task switcher. I'll just bring it up again, swipe in, by tapping the cross icon here. So I'll tap and close News here, and then the same with Microsoft Edge here. If an app doesn't close from here, it may need your attention. So tap on it and check that it's not notifying you to save your work, for instance, before you close it. Just like in Windows 8, we can work with multiple apps on a touchscreen device. To do this, swipe your finger down from the top of the screen, but keep it held to the screen. And keeping your finger held on the screen, you will see the app shrink down, and follow your finger. Move the app to the left or right of the screen. This dividing bar will appear. Let go of the screen, and the app will snap to the side of the screen. Windows will then open the task switcher in the other side of the screen. Simply tap on the app you want to work with. And there we go, you're multitasking with two apps. You can also resize the tile apps by tapping and holding on the dividing bar and then dragging it. The dividing bar is a little small, so catching it with your finger might take a couple of tries. Maybe you want to listen to some tunes while you surf the web. You could shrink the music app down like this. Then let go to give you more space for your web browser, but allow you to still quickly change music tracks. You can see that not all operations are possible when the app is shrunk down like this, and in fact we'd need to make the app bigger and start some music playing before it was any use at this size. As you're resizing apps, notice that if the app disappears completely, then if you let go now, the app will be removed from your screen, though it won't be closed entirely and you can still get back to it from the task switcher. I'll just bring that in now by swiping from the left, and as you can see, music is still there. And if I started a song playing, for instance, I could then multitask it with my browser and use it to play tunes while I surf the web. And that's all you need to know to work with multiple apps in tablet mode. For all the criticism Windows 8 got, its powerful multitasking capabilities, which Windows 10 builds on, are more advanced than any other tablet PC operating system on the market, and Microsoft's competitors are scrambling to catch up with these awesome features. Let's continue our tour of the Windows 10 desktop by looking at files and folders in File Explorer. We'll start by opening our Documents folder. Your Documents folder is where most of your work will be stored by default. To access it, start File Explorer, and I'll just maximise the window. Then from here, click on This PC, and then double click on Documents. Okay, so now we can see the contents of the Documents folder. On a brand new PC, this folder will be totally empty. Since this is a relatively new installation, there are only a few items in here, mostly folders that third-party software has created. As you use your PC and produce more work, you'll start to see more files in here. In File Explorer, we can use this area on the left, called the Navigation pane, to jump to several folders quickly. Under Quick Access here, we can jump to our Downloads folder, for instance. This is the folder where files you download from the web are stored. Under This PC, and remember if you don't see the items listed, you just need to click here. You can jump to your Pictures and Music folders by single clicking on them here. Remember, single click in the navigation pane, double click in the main Explorer window. You can also jump to any storage device attached to your PC by looking under this PC. We'll cover more of the features of File Explorer in a later video. For now, we'll just look at the basics. At the top of the window here, we have the back and forward controls, as well as this up pointing arrow. This arrow takes us directly back up one directory to the parent directory. So for instance, if we were in this PC Documents, clicking the arrow here will take us up to this PC. The area here is called the address bar. This can be used to see the file path or address. Then, as with Windows 7 and 8, there's this built-in search tool here. File Explorer changed in Windows 8 to use a ribbon style interface, and this persists in Windows 10 too. Notice these tabs at the top. As you work with files in File Explorer, they will change based on the content you are working with. Let me give you an example. I'll open up my music folder now by double-clicking it here. Now I'll single-click on a song in this folder. See how Music Tools has appeared? Let's click on this. I can now play this music file by clicking here, or play all the files in the folder. If you want to hide the ribbon interface at any time, simply click on the little arrow here. Click it again to reveal the full ribbon. To go back to the previous directory you viewed, you click the back button here. You can also click the forward button here if you decide you didn't really want to go back yet. You can also quickly jump to other folders along the path or address by using these controls here. So we could jump straight to Pictures, for instance. These quick jump menus that you can access from the address bar are known as breadcrumbs. In the Pictures folder we can see some of my photographs. Here I want to demonstrate different views you can have in a folder. If we come to the View tab here, then click on Extra Large Icons, then you'll see the view has changed and the icons have got very large. Hover your mouse over each viewing option to see a preview of what it looks like. Quite self-explanatory, we have extra large, large, medium and small icons. You can also view items as a list, as tiles, or as content, which strikes a nice balance between Details View and Icon View. You might have noticed I skipped over Details View because I want to cover Details View in some more detail. Details View is the view that power users use most often. Let's select it now. Details View lets you get down to the nitty-gritty of your files. We can see the date they were modified, what type of file they are, the size, and any tags that have been applied. Now if I come to a column and right click on it, then you can add and remove columns by ticking or checking them. So for example, if I wasn't interested in the date, I could click here and that removes the date from the view. And perhaps I want to look at dimensions instead. So I'll click on that and now we can see the dimensions or sizes of the pictures. By right clicking here and choosing more, you can choose from hundreds of different types of metadata or data about your data. Now of course some files won't have this data available. For example, a picture doesn't generally have an album artist, so if I ticked album artist and clicked OK, there would just be no information in that column. And likewise, for instance, a music file wouldn't have dimensions, at least not that could be measured in inches or pixels. I can also sort the data by any of these columns, simply by clicking on them. So now my files are sorted by size, with the largest file first. To reverse the sorting order, click again. Just one or two things left to show you now. Like Windows 7 and 8, we can open a preview pane for working with our images. To do that, open the View tab on the ribbon and then click Preview Pane. Now any image you single click on will appear in the preview pane over here. As with Windows 8, there's also a Details pane. Click here to activate that. We can now see a huge amount of data about the photo. We can also edit some of the information, for instance tags, by clicking here and typing. And press enter when you're done. We could change the author too. But of course you can't change things like the size or the dimensions. To do that, you'd need to open a photo editing tool. And that concludes this lesson and rounds off our little introduction to File Explorer and personal folders. We covered a lot of material in this video, so make sure you practice the techniques if you need to. Continuing our tour of File Explorer, in this lesson we will look at some more techniques for viewing and managing files on your computer. Recall how in the last lesson we showed you different folder views. Back then we said that Details View was the view that power users used the most. Details View lets you find out all kinds of information about the files on your computer. This File Explorer window here is open in Details View and we're looking at some picture files. So let's review quickly. We can see the name, date, type, size of the files, as well as any tags that were added, and the dimensions. We can shuffle these columns around if we like, by clicking and dragging, and we can add or remove columns by right-clicking on any column and choosing the columns we want to see. Okay. Remember also how we said that not all metadata is relevant to all kinds of files. For example, a picture of your back garden isn't usually going to have an album artist. The types of metadata that are supported actually depend on the file itself. Let me show you what I mean. If I single click on the butterfly picture here, over on the details pane we can see lots of metadata. Now let's click on this clip art style picture of a bucket and spade. And it opens in the details pane too, but where's all the metadata gone? Well, if we look under type here, we can see that although this is a picture file, it's a different type of picture file. It's a PNG picture file rather than a JPEG or JPG picture file. These types of picture file don't support tags and other metadata, so unfortunately we can't tag them. There are a few other options for sorting and grouping your data that we can do from the ribbon. Go over to the View tab if you're not there already, and over on the right here there are two groups of options. The Sort By option is exactly the same as clicking on a column heading, so we could sort by size by clicking here. Then there's the Group By options. Let's click on that and see what it does. So I'll choose Group By and select Name. See now, Windows has grouped these files into little manageable pools based on their names. While this isn't so useful in a folder with just a few files, when you're dealing with a large number of files it can be very useful. We can also add columns from here by clicking here, just like we did by right-clicking on a column, and by clicking Size All Columns to Fit. Windows adjusts the column width so that all the text is visible. You can see the full file name. Finally, there's the 3 checkboxes here. Item checkboxes makes it easier to select multiple files, particularly if you're using a touchscreen and stylus or your finger to work with File Explorer. We cover working with multiple files in a later lesson. File name extensions are 3 or more letters at the end of a file name that can help Windows identify what type of file it is. When you have this option on, you can see these little file extensions here. Hidden items are files or folders that Windows keeps hidden from view, usually because they contain system files that should never manually be changed. If you do need to view them, you can click here. But be careful, as changing hidden files can have dire consequences for your PC. Let's round off with a more in-depth look at the navigation pane. That's this part of the Explorer window here. Remember, whenever you see this arrow, it means you can expand the section by clicking on it. If the arrow is already pointing down, then the section is already expanded. So at the top here, Windows 10 has these quick access folders. These let you jump quickly to the most commonly accessed parts of your PC. This replaces the old favourite folders that were in Windows 8. To add a folder to quick access, you need to right-click it in Explorer and choose Pin to Quick Access. And there we go. Below that is the OneDrive icon that takes you directly to your OneDrive online storage. Then there's the This PC icon. The shortcuts under here will take you to the personal folders on your PC and also to attached devices such as your phone. And if you have any mapped network drives, they will appear here rather than under network. Down here we've got the network shortcut that allows you to browse all the available computers and resources on your home network. As you can see, I've got 1 or 2 things there on my home network. And finally, the home group icon lets you browse the home group on your home network if you've set one up. If you ever want to browse all the folders on your PC starting from the very top level, note that Computer was renamed to This PC in Windows 8 and Windows 10. So you would click on This PC and you can see here a list of all the drives and storage locations on your computer. So as you've seen, there's lots of ways to work with your data in Windows 10. Don't feel you have to learn and master every possible way to display your data. Experiment and use the views that work best for you and the way you work. As with most things in computing, the best way to learn is by trying for yourself, so don't be afraid to have a go. In this video, we'll be building on some of the skills we showed in the previous video by taking a more detailed look at folders and files. Hopefully, much of the material here will be familiar to you if you've used Windows before. Now, we've seen several folders in our other videos that Windows 10 places on your computer by default. But you're not limited to just those. You can create your own folders too, and we'll see how in this video. Here I am in File Explorer viewing my personal folders. These are the folders we've been working with, and although they're called things like Documents, Music, Pictures, and Videos, etc., you can still copy any kind of information or files into these folders, and that holds true for all folders on a Windows PC. So I'll go ahead and open my Documents folder by double-clicking on it. Now, in this folder I've created 2 example folders, one called Example and another called Example 2. How did I do this? Well, there are several ways. One is to go to the Home tab here, then simply click New Folder. This creates a new folder. Type any name you want and then press Enter. Then the folder will be created. Folders are very useful for organising files on your computer. You can create subfolders for different projects, different events that you photographed or filmed perhaps, different albums or music artists, or any way you choose. You can also have folders inside folders, and folders inside folders inside folders, almost limitlessly. Just like in previous versions of Windows, you should get used to using the context menu when working with files. This is the menu that appears when you right-click on a file or folder, like this. Now, I don't want to discuss all the options we can see here. We'll be covering those later, but I do want to show you some of the most common tasks you can perform with files and folders from the context menu. Let's look at Send To first. When I move my mouse over this, we can see that we can send this file to these various locations. We can create a zip file. This basically squashes all the files you have selected into one archive that you could send across the internet. Or we can create a shortcut on the desktop. We could send the file or folder to our Documents folder. Well, this file is already in our Documents folder, so in actual fact if we click that, we'd get a copy of this file appear in the Documents folder. This Evernote option is an option that a third-party piece of software has installed, and many third-party apps will add extra functionality to this menu, but that's not standard, so I'll skip over it. Then we could send the file to the fax or mail recipient if these features were set up, and also to my iPhone there, and to various storage and network locations here. Okay, so the next options I want to talk about are cut and copy. These are two of the most important context menu items. Cut is used for moving files or folders, while copy is used, unsurprisingly, to copy them. Let's say you wanted to move this example2 folder so that it was inside this example folder. One way to do this is to use the context menu. Firstly, click the example2 folder once. Then right-click and choose Cut. Now open the folder or location you want to move the file or folder into. So in this case, example. And then right-click and choose Paste. And there's the folder. Of course, if we had chosen Copy instead of Cut, there would still be another copy of example2 here. Let's demonstrate this now. This time I'll use the toolbar at the top instead. So select the folder, and on the toolbar choose Copy. Then navigate to where I want it and choose Paste. And there's the folder, and if we look, it's still in the original location too. We can also rename files and folders easily. Here in the example folder, I'll just switch to Details View, and you can see we've got several different types of file. Let's add a column and see what types of file they are. Okay, so we've got a folder, a Windows installer package, a MP3 sound, that's a music file, and a JPEG file, that's a picture file. So this demonstrates how you can have different types of file together in a folder, and Windows is perfectly fine with that as long as the files aren't the same name. So let's rename a file to demonstrate that. There's several ways to do this. One way is to use the context menu. Simply right-click on the file or folder you want to rename and choose Rename. Now just type the new name that you want and press Enter. And that's it. You can also find Rename on the Home tab of the ribbon, just here. And that works in exactly the same way. We can also easily delete files or folders we no longer need. To do this, simply click once on the file to select it, then either right-click and choose Delete, or click Delete on the Home menu here. Now this usually, though not always, sends the file to the recycle bin, which you can access by going back to the desktop, so I'll minimize that, and double clicking here. Now you can take the file back out of the bin by right clicking on it here and choosing Restore. And back in our original File Explorer window, we can see the file is back. Finally, I just want to mention that you can also delete files by clicking them once and then pressing the delete key on your keyboard. This is often faster than using the context menu or toolbar. And that concludes this tutorial on working with files and folders. In this video, we're going to take a look at Microsoft's digital assistant, Cortana. To get started using Cortana, we firstly need to be signed in with a Microsoft account. Unlike most other apps, you cannot sign in separately to Cortana. So, when you are signed in with a Microsoft account, you can activate Cortana by opening the search box here, clicking or tapping on the gear icon, and then turning on Cortana here. Then click on Next, and Cortana collects data about how you use your devices. This helps her better tailor her results to you. In order to use Cortana, you will need to sacrifice some of your privacy. The choice is yours. Click on I agree if you want to use her. You can also review the privacy statement in full by clicking here. OK, I'll click on I agree to get started. Now you need to choose what Cortana calls you. Sadly, Cortana on the PC doesn't sound anything like Cortana did in the popular Halo video games, so I resist the urge to have her call me Chief. And we'll just go with Matt. And click on Next. OK, so Cortana is activated. There are two ways you can interact with her. Firstly, you can type your query in using the keyboard or on-screen keyboard. If Cortana has a response to your question, you will see it under this Can I Help section here. Click on it to see what Cortana has to say. You can also use your voice to directly interact with Cortana. Cortana needs a good quality microphone in order to work well with voice recognition. At the moment, she will always use the default microphone. If you have more than one microphone in your machine, you will need to change the default device. To talk to Cortana, click on the icon here. She will then listen to you. If this is the first time you've tried to talk to Cortana, you may see this configuration window appear. Click on Next. Now you just need to read the following sentence. Peter talks to his computer. He prefers it to typing and particularly prefers it to pen and paper. OK, that's all there is to setting up your microphone. Click on Finish. Right, let's try talking to Cortana again. So we'll click on the icon here. Will it rain today?
There's a chance it will, Matt. Here's the forecast.
And let's try another query. Will it rain tomorrow?
There's some chance it could, Matt. Here's the forecast for tomorrow.
OK, great, that seems to be working. You can also have Cortana respond when you call her by saying, Hey Cortana. To do that, make sure Cortana is open by clicking on the search box. Then click on the notebook icon here. Then choose Settings here. Now turn on Hey Cortana by clicking here. Now Cortana will listen for your voice all the time. This does drain battery power a little, but it means you don't have to interact with your device in any way other than talking to it. So let's give it a try. Hey Cortana. Tell me a joke.
They say a Freudian slip is when you say one thing, but really mean your mother.
Ha ha ha. You're such a wheeze, Cortana. Cortana really needs to work with you for a period of time before she can be really useful. If we go into Notebook here, we can see all the different categories that Cortana uses to collect information on you. If we were to go to News, for instance, we can add a news topic by scrolling to the bottom here to let Cortana know we're interested in this subject. We could search for Windows and then click here, and this will be added to the news section as soon as we click on Add. And you can see we're now tracking news about Windows. Okay, let's go back from there. And we'll just go back to the home screen. As Cortana gets to know you, she will put suggestions here. You can scroll down and read them like this. What other things can Cortana do? Well, there's far too many things to cover in a short screencast. She can send emails, though trying to dictate anything more than a few lines to her is pretty frustrating. She can play music. Play music.
Sure, I could shuffle all day. I'm sorry, there's no music in your device.
Though for some reason she's not yet clever enough to be able to play individual tracks or artists on demand. One of her most useful features is the ability to set reminders. Let's enter "Remind me to water the plants," for example. We can then click the result here to set a reminder. We can then edit the reminder to set a time, say 4:30, and choose between only once or every day. How about every Sunday? And then click Remind. And that's it, the reminder is set. Cortana can even launch apps. Hey Cortana, launch store.
Opening store.
But since she can't interact with them once they've launched, this is of limited use. Finally, to turn Cortana off again, you need to go and click here, then click on the notebook, then click on Settings, and switch her off here. So that's Cortana on Windows 10. Right now this feature does feel a little like a gimmick, but it will be interesting to see how it changes and evolves over time. Microsoft's upcoming phone companion app, that sadly wasn't ready by the time we went to press, will allow Cortana to move to your Windows, iOS or Android phone too, potentially allowing her to assist you when you are on the road or at your desk. In this video we're going to take a look at some of the information apps that come with Windows 10. Now the aim of this video isn't to cover these programs in detail, more to show you what they are and what common features they share, so you can start playing with them yourself. So let's start the News app, and I'll do that from the Start menu by clicking here. Okay, so this is the News app, and it behaves a lot like the other information apps that come with Windows 10. You can search the news at the top here, pick a category here, or perform various other functions with the buttons here. So if I was interested in technology news, I could click here. To have the News app show me only technology-related news. When viewing headlines, use the scroll control here, and you may need to hover your mouse in this position for it to appear, to browse through the headlines. On a touch system, you'd simply swipe with your finger. When you see a story you want to read, click or tap on it. You can then scroll through the news story in the same way, either with your mouse or with a finger. When you're done, use the buttons here to browse directly to another story, or use the back button here to go back to browsing the headlines. You can hover your mouse pointer over the buttons on the left to see what they do. If you click on Interests, for example, you can customize the News app. So you might not be interested in entertainment news, for instance. So if you click or tap here, you can disable that category. You can also browse the categories here to more specifically define your interests. Maybe you are particularly interested in Formula 1 racing. In that case, you could click Sport here and make sure F1 was checked. There's also a button here for local news. When you click this, the news app will ask to access your location. I'll click on Yes. And the app determines I'm in Lincolnshire in the UK and gives me some local news stories. You can also watch video news stories by clicking here. Down at the bottom of the app is the option to sign in. If you sign in, you'll synchronise your news preferences between devices. Okay, I'll just cancel that for now. And finally, this icon here is to change a small number of program settings. So as you can see, the news app is really easy to use. There's nothing you can do in the news app that you couldn't just do by browsing the news on the World Wide Web. But having all this information sorted, aggregated and available at your fingertips can be a big time saver. Let's take a look at the weather app now. I'll start it from the start menu. And to start with, I'll need to select default location. So we'll go with Lincoln in the UK. And again, I'll just maximise the app. You can see it's laid out in a very similar fashion to the news app. We have buttons down the side here to take us to different parts of the programme, and the main forecast is shown here. Looks like I can still be reasonably optimistic for a nice weekend. If I scroll down or swipe down with my finger, I can see more details such as an hourly forecast and precipitation and humidity information. Like before, we can hover our mouse pointer over these icons here to see what they do. The Places button is quite useful. From here we can add new places, so if you frequently travel between two locations, you can view weather reports for both places. Let's add another place now. And there we go. I can click on it and get the weather report. Looks like the weather's better there on the weekend. Just like the news app, there's also the option to sign in down here. And the settings icon down here lets you reconfigure the app. For instance, you can change the temperature gauge. And that concludes our little tour of these information apps. There are other information apps in Windows 10 too, such as Health and Fitness and Money, and they all work in a similar fashion. So go experiment with them using the skills you learned in this lesson.